Hey, this is Blake with Platinum Concrete Coatings of Texas. Today in our shop we are going to show you guys how to apply Polyurea 350 as a base coat for a one-day flake flooring system. Polyurea 350, as the name suggests, is a polyurea. It's designed at 70 degrees to cure in 2 hours. The polyurea that Citadel makes comes in 3 different speeds: Arctic, winter, and summer. In Texas, we're typically going to be using summer all year round. There's a couple months where when we get under 50 degrees, we'll use winter blend, but I would suggest before you use winter blend that you are very, used to polyurea and you're very experienced with the summer blend because it can be faster. So today, what we're going to use to apply is a notched squeegee. It's designed to go down at 5 to 7 mils or 230 to 320 square feet per gallon. You want to put this polyurea down thin. You don't want it to be thick, because then you could create what's called solvent entrapment in the actual coating, which means as it's setting up, since it's designed to set up faster, it's setting up before all the solvent has escaped out of the product, which could produce, which could cause it to have bubbles. So this product is meant to be put down relatively thin. We're going to put this out. We're going to back roll it with an 18-inch shed resistant roller. We like using 3/8 inch nap shed resistant rollers. And so after we back roll it, we'll then throw our flake and we'll go from there. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to mix up our product. So we've mapped this out. It's 216 square feet. So ultimately we're going to mix up a gallon. We might have a little bit left over, but we're going to do it at 200. We're going to shoot for about 216 square foot a gallon. So the first thing that you do is that the polyurea is a 2-to-1 mix, 2 parts B, 1 part A. The first thing you want to do is you want to mix up each component individually to universally disperse it and make sure that it's thoroughly mixed. And then you proceed to pour your 2 parts of B into the bucket, your 1 part of A into the bucket, and then you mix that for 2 minutes. After you mix that for 2 minutes, I like to add 10% acetone to that, which equates to 12 ounces of acetone per mixed gallon. I mix that for 30 seconds, and then we proceed to pour it out on the floor. Squeegee, back roll, and then flake. It's really important that you don't leave it in the bucket, because if you leave it in the bucket, that exponentially increases or decreases the amount of time that you have to work with it, to the point where even when it's 105 degrees outside, it's going to set up on you. And that's, with a lot of products in the Texas heat. So as you can see, we've got this all mapped out. He's mixing the product. We have our poles with our squeegees, with our rollers, all ready to go. Everything is ready to go. I recommend that when you show up to a job that you don't just willy-nilly it and rock and roll. During this video, I've gotten 3 phone calls and my phone is now on silent for at least 15 minutes. I'll get back to them after this. But you want to make sure that you're focused and dialed in, because once you mix the A into the B, the clock starts ticking. And you don't want a call to interrupt you, and the next thing you know, your product is setting up and now you've got to redo a floor, or you weren't able to get the coverage because everything thickened up, and that's not good, because then you got to spend more money for more product. That's the last thing I want you to do, because I want you to be as successful as you can possibly be and grow your business in the way that you want to grow it, and so that you can make the most money that you can. Ultimately, what I would recommend, it's hard to see right here, but on a floor, you want to look at your layout of the floor, and I personally like to go from side to side in the most narrow area, because if I can start going side to side, getting further back, I can start back rolling this faster. If I go on the widest side, from that side to this side, I've got to mix up multiple batches to get far enough so I can start back rolling. So if I start going from the narrow side to side, I can get back further, allowing me to back roll faster, so that the product has more time to lay out and you can start throwing flake on it faster. Now, the good thing with polyurea is that once we get it out on the floor, it will accept flake for up to 45 minutes after it's down on the floor. That's the good thing about this product. So if you're spread really thin, it's not recommended. A smaller area, you could possibly do it alone. You better be moving, but you can still do it and still have time to come back out and throw your flake, because it will accept flake for 45 minutes. Another good thing about Polyurea 350 is that you can see, and you can even check out the TD sheet, the recommended CSP for Polyurea 350 is actually a 2, which is a grind. You don't have to shot blast this in order to get the proper bond for the product. So all the tests that you see on the TD sheets, the adhesion test, abrasion test, everything is tested with the concrete profile at a 2. So just something to keep in mind. That's another cool thing about this product, because not only does it mechanically bond to the concrete, it also has additives in the product that enable it to chemically bond to the concrete as well. You know, we would have taped up if we were doing an actual floor. We're just doing our floor, so please forgive me for that. But so what he's going to do is he's going to pour me a line right here. Not yet. Pour me a line right here. He's going to go right here. And ultimately what we're going to do with this squeegee is we're just going to go side to side like a windshield wiper, all the way to the back. I've got my thickness. I know my thickness is going to be here, so I'm going to have a little bit of pressure on it to ensure we get that thickness so that we can make it work. And then after I get far enough down, he's going to start back rolling, then I'm going to come back and start throwing flake. So go ahead and go, Josh. He's going to pour a line, not a puddle, working it like that. There you go. Perfect. And then what I'm going to start doing is I'm first going to push it out and get the edges. And then I'm going to start squeegeeing. Ideally, with a squeegee, you want to keep it around 3/4 of the way on the squeegee right here, because you don't want to leave any product behind as you're doing this floor. So that's all I'm doing. I'm just getting my edge right now. I know that I don't have the best technique, but kind of gives you an idea of what we're doing. See, that was not good. I got to get around it. And he can hit those areas. He's going to hit those areas with a roller. So here's what we're going to do. Right there. Tight. He's going to come over here, saturate his roller in a puddle. So go ahead and, because you don't want to back roll with a dry roller. You want to make sure it's already wet. Personally, taking the square footage, dividing it by 6, and that'll give you the amount of flake that you would need for a job. Now, I know a lot of people, as they get better at throwing flake, they'll start dividing that number by 7, dividing it by 8, some divide it by 10, but initially I would divide it by 6. Another thing is it's always better to have that extra box of flake than to run out of flake on a job. If you run out of flake on a job, that could potentially cause you to have to redo the whole job. I've seen that. Now, some people are really good at touching up things, you can feather it in or so on and so forth. I've seen a lot of, situations where you're throwing, you realize, oh crap, I don't have enough flake. So then your coverage is a lot different on one side than the other. So then you're trying to patch one side, it starts looking different, then you end up having to either completely rebroadcast the entire floor or grinding it up and starting again. So that being said, it's always better to have that extra box of flake than not to have it. And initially, if you're doing estimates for flake, I would always take the square footage, divide it by 6 initially, which comes out to, 1 pound will get you 6 square feet, and then going from there. And so now we'll start throwing flake. And you're gonna throw flake up until rejection, where you don't see any more shiny spots. Another thing is you wanna throw it up, you don't wanna throw it down. So we're gonna be right here, we're gonna throw flake, and we're just gonna throw it like we're feeding chickens. One box is 25 pounds, how we have them. We carry 30 colors. We can also order custom blends. So we're gonna see exactly how much flake I use for 216-ish square feet. We ended up using about 3 quarts for the base coat on 216 square feet, so whatever that math comes out to. So you can stretch this product pretty thin. You want to start at the far end and work yourself out of the building. You don't want to start over there, come back and be like, oh crap, now I got to go back. Just I could come back out and walk on flake and not leave spike marks. If we were doing a quartz floor, you do not walk on broadcasted areas, otherwise you're going to leave cleat marks. So, broadcasted flake, I'm now going to come back, look for shiny areas. Josh pointed out which shiny area.
Here's about 4, right there. Farther up.
Toward the wall? Yeah. Oh, I see. I'm just coming back out, broadcasting these areas. You want to check it out from different angles, and you want to broadcast until you don't see any more shiny spots.
Right where you're standing.
Right here?
A little bit left.
Here?
Yeah. Good.
Okay. That's good. So that's how. So we used a little under 25 pounds for about 200 square feet. So in this situation, it even looked like I threw a lot of flake, but I was still able to do the square footage divided by 8. I would still show up to a job with an extra box of flake just to be safe. So we put it out to rejection. 2 hours later, we can come back and scrape this. So tune in for when we scrape and actually apply the top coat, and I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen.